Welcome back to Tarik Talk. Walking into the Whitney Museum during the 2026 Biennial, you begin to feel how deeply this exhibition is rooted in land, how artists are thinking about place not just as geography, but as history, identity, and lived experience. The Whitney itself, perched along the Hudson River, opens outward to the city and the environment, making you constantly aware of the relationship between the built world and the natural one. Curated by Marcela Guerrero and Drew Sawyer, this biennial explores how we exist within systems, ecological, political, and cultural. It's an exhibition shaped by connection, by tension, and by the question of how we move forward within landscapes that are already marked by history. And Nanibah Chacon's work brings that question into sharp focus. Chacon, who is Diné, Navajo, and based in New Mexico, creates sculptures that hold a powerful dialogue between tradition and industry. Her work draws visual connections between two very different forms, the sacred imagery of Diné sand paintings and the industrial structures of electrical towers used by coal refineries on the Navajo Nation. At first, these forms might seem unrelated. One is spiritual, ceremonial, deeply tied to cultural knowledge and cosmology. The other is industrial, imposed on the land, associated with extraction, energy production, and environmental impact. But in Chacon's work, they begin to mirror each other. The lines, the geometry, the structure of the towers echo the visual language of sand paintings. What emerges is not a simple comparison, but a layered conversation, one that reveals how these systems coexist, often in tension, on the same land. There's a powerful shift that happens through this transformation. By bringing these forms together, Chacon reclaims the visual language of the landscape. She doesn't ignore the presence of industrial infrastructure, but she recontextualizes it. The towers, often seen as symbols of environmental harm, become part of a new narrative. A narrative that centers indigenous knowledge. A narrative that acknowledges damage, but also resilience. And that sense of transformation is key. Chacon's sculptures don't erase history, they hold it. They make visible the impact of extraction and energy systems on the Navajo Nation, while also asserting the presence and continuity of Diné culture. There's also a spatial dimension to her work. These sculptures are not confined to the gallery. One of the works will eventually be installed on Navajo land after the biennial closes, extending its life beyond the museum. This gesture shifts the work from an object of display to something that exists within the landscape it references. It brings the work full circle, from land to museum and back to land again. Within the Whitney Biennial, this movement resonates deeply. This exhibition is not just about representation, it's about relationship, how artists engage with place, with history, with systems that shape everyday life. Chacon's work embodies that engagement, grounding it in both material and meaning. The Whitney's architecture amplifies this experience. Installed in spaces that open to the outside, terraces where the sky, the river, and the city are all visible, the work feels connected to a larger environment. You're not just looking at sculpture, you're thinking about the land beyond the museum walls. And that awareness lingers, because Chacon's work asks you to reconsider what you see when you look at a landscape, to recognize the layers of history embedded within it, to understand the coexistence of sacred and industrial, of past and present. And within the Whitney Biennial 2026, her work becomes a powerful reminder that even in places marked by extraction and change, there is still the possibility of reimagining the story of the land.